So I would like to start the event with our speakers. Please welcome Bilal, Dima, Ramiz, and Zahra. And I asked all the speakers to bring an object, like an item that represents their, for example, their relationship with Lebanon or the family history. And so, Zahra, what did you bring today?
I brought orange blossom water.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here today.
Very nice. What does it symbolize for you, or why did you bring this item?
For me, so I come from the south of Lebanon, from Sur, from my father's side, and my mother is from Honir, still occupied till this date, and you can see the story with all the details actually over there. It's part of the photo exhibition. But growing up between Beirut and Sur, for me, going to Sur, especially around this time of the year, actually, April, that's when it's the orange blossom season. And our house is in the middle of orange trees, lemon trees, and olive trees and whatnot. And so the smell would always fill the air. So for me, it's very reminiscent of my childhood there, let alone that it's also like a big part of our cuisine. So a lot of our dishes also are made with orange blossom water. Lemonade for me is synonymous with orange blossom water. And this was one of the shocks I actually had when I arrived here. I ordered lemonade at a restaurant, and for me, it was not lemonade because obviously there was no orange blossom water in there. So that's why I felt like bringing this today.
Thank you. I wish we could smell it, but maybe.
Well, we can have a round if you like.
Yeah,
Or you can taste it in the cake, actually.
Oh, nice.
Still smell it.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you tell us a little bit about your hometown, about your family, where you're from?
So just as I mentioned, I come from Sur. It's on the south coast of Lebanon. It's very nice. In my humble opinion, it's the nicest beach. I did not believe this until I actually moved abroad and realized, okay, no, this is true. We're not exaggerating. I was born in Beirut. I grew up between both Beirut and the south, so I have a bit of both in a way. My mom comes from Honin, and so it's a village in the very south of Lebanon, and it was occupied in 1948, so that's when my grandparents were forcibly expelled, and since then, of course, they never got to go back. And today there's Kibbutz Margaliot and Mushav Maskav Am that's are there, and they were built to settle Jews from Iraq and Yemen. Now, just a bit of context also. Elon already spoke about the division of the region with the Balfour Declaration, with the Sykes-Picot, but to complement that. In 1923, there was also an agreement between the Brits and the French. It's called Podium, so after the colonels that were in charge of this. And due to this agreement, the village of my mother, together with a number of other villages, they went from being under Lebanon under the French mandate to Palestine under the British mandate, and of course, eventually part of the state of Israel. So my grandparents had to flee, and they went to Burj Hammoud initially, which is currently like a heavily Armenian quarter of Beirut. Lived also briefly in Tal Zatar, Dikwene. And then there was the civil war in 1975. Now, thanks to this Pole-Nukom agreement, there was also this confusion around the identity of my grandparents and my mother's family. So if you've already taken a look at the pictures there, you would probably have already read a bit and saw that my grandmother, and my mother included as well, they all had Palestinian refugee documents in Lebanon. So they were refugees in their own country. They were not recognized as Lebanese up until 1994. That's when the president at the time, Ilyas Lehrawi, together with the prime minister, Rafi al-Hariri, and the minister of interior, I believe, they issued a decree which allowed for the naturalization for a lot of people, including Bedouins, Kurds, but also people from these villages. And then when the civil war broke, this also put my mom's family again in danger, because there were a lot of tensions between different political factions in Lebanon. And again, in one of the pictures, you will see an entire family in the back of a truck. This is my mom's family. She's somewhere in there with her siblings and her parents. And they were being taken to, you want to call it slaughter, shooting. Basically, it was some kind of revenge for a woman whose son was killed by the Palestinians. And again, assuming my mom's family was Palestinian, they wanted to seek revenge. Now, miraculously, on the way, the mayor of Dikwene, where my mom's family lived at the time, was passing by, and he recognized my grandfather. And then he was asking, "What are you doing here? What's going on?" And immediately when he found out, he told the truck driver, "This family is Lebanese, leave them alone." And that's how they actually miraculously survived that. Then 1977, that's when, sorry, I forgot to mention, among the pictures also is my uncle's. He went missing in the Civil War, and up until today, we don't know his whereabouts. We don't know if he's alive, if he's dead. So that's also a scar that doesn't heal. And then 1977, they moved to Germany, where they tried to seek asylum. And my mom stayed at Lebanon at the time. She was young. Back then, marriage age was significantly different than nowadays. The way marriages also happen were almost always arranged. So she stayed in Lebanon, or her family moved to Germany. And she also fled from Beirut to the south, to Sur, where my father's family is. And in between, she also lived in Hamdoun. This is Mount Lebanon. And I was also, when I was collecting the pictures, I was asking her, why is there no picture from any of your IDs? I was curious, how come my grandma still had hers and my mom didn't? And that's when she told me, because the Israelis were surrounding us in 1982 when they invaded Lebanon. And on our documents, it says Palestinian, so we would be immediately a target for them. So I burnt everything very quickly before they could even find us and find the documents. That's, I think I already spoken a lot, but it never stops here. 1996, I was 4 years old, living in Lebanon. 5 ولا 7 خلاص.
I mean, if you have something, we have 2 rounds also, so maybe...
I'll sum it up in a minute. So 1996 wars, 2006 war, I was also in Lebanon. I saw the atrocities. Now I'm not there, but I'm mentally with them. And just to wrap it up, due to all these wars also, as Lebanese families, we pay a high price on every aspect, but a very important one is immigration. We are all seeking a better future abroad, and that's why we are a very huge diaspora, 4 or 5 times the number of Lebanon, and almost every house has at least one of its family members abroad. And the cost is really high because families are living apart, but also sometimes it costs us our lives. It's something I rarely talk about, but since we're at it, my father sold everything and moved to the US seeking a better life. And just, casual Sunday noon, a young guy walks into his shop and shoots him dead. So it cost my father his life as well. I was 13 at the time, and it's something that I guess can never really heal. So just looking forward to a day where we really don't have to go through this anymore, and where future generations also don't have to go through the misery that we've been living. Sorry, I talked too much.
No, thank you very much for sharing this with us. And I'm very sorry for your loss. As I said, I think it's not easy for everyone on the panel here to speak, but thank you for being also an appreciative audience, and thank you for sharing, Zahra. I would like to continue with Bilal. What did you bring for us? Which object do you want to show us that connects you to Lebanon, or that has an important symbolic value?
Hi everyone. Also, thank you for being here. When we first talked about bringing an object from home, I had to, look around and think, okay, what should I bring with? Because I have so much with. Every time I travel home, the suitcase comes back full, not only with food, but with objects and things that make home abroad also home. So I brought these two things, these two objects, not things. And it's about the crochet. These were done by my aunt. Yeah, So one is this traditional bri el mai, so you drink water from this in a traditional home. And yeah, exactly, from the spout. You can remove the hoodie. It has a hoodie. Yes. So you can open it. So, and the aunt or my, yeah, you drink like this. Yeah. And the cousin of my father, her name is Najat. So there are two. They're siblings, Najat and Siham, and they're maybe a bit, So they're older and they love to crochet, and they crochet on everything. And this is a very traditional bri that you would find, and it's cover. But this one, for example, she crocheted a bottle that she had at home. And it's actually, I said, can I have it, please? Because it looks so nice. And then when I took it and I looked at it home and I see the spar tree on it, I said, how did you end up with this bottle? You know, it was very strange. And yeah, but she crochets on every object at home. So that's her passing time. And so she was so nice to give me these two objects.
So how did she get the Spar bottle?
I don't know, actually. She doesn't know. I mean, she just ended up with this bottle, and I keep it because it's part of the, it's part of the story of, it's nice, no? And it also has a hoodie.
There's also Spar in other countries.
Yeah, there's also, but I've never seen one in Beirut, so. And and as children, I was thinking a lot. So she lost her home in 2024, which was bombed by Israel, and it brought back a lot of memories because, growing up, it's amazing how much sometimes you don't cherish places until you don't have them anymore. And as children, we would always go. Every other day, we would go to their house. And me and my little brother, we would call it Beit al-Ankabut. So it's the spider's web. because every time my mom would take us there, we would need 5 hours to leave. And we were children, we were not amused by, adults reading coffee, like reading their future from a coffee cup, because she was still one of the few remaining that would still read your future. And my mother would always say, come, ta, psom, like lick your finger and stamp it so that she can read also your future without me drinking the coffee. Which explains why I don't like coffee now. But those were the memories that hold a dear place in my heart, and especially those two objects, because they were really something she made, and yeah.
Yes, and they're so elaborate and so beautiful.
Yeah, it's super. Yeah. And now she doesn't see so well, so whenever we ask, hey, can you still crochet? She's like, no. And she doesn't even read our future anymore, so.
Maybe better.
She doesn't see it, and she started to go away from it. I think with age they become. She said she doesn't like to do it because the future only God knows, and she should not be able to read it. So I think the older it comes with age, that I think the closer you come to death and you start to contemplate about the afterlife, I think some patterns and traditions change. So she said, the future only God knows, so she doesn't do it for many people. Yeah.
Bilal, can you tell us something about where you grew up, your neighborhood, how you grew up, maybe your family, if you would like?
Yeah, so I grew up in Hat Tahrik. I don't know if so many people know it. If you're Lebanese, you would maybe know. If not, you maybe would know it only from the news, because it's one of the always red targeted areas. Hat Tahrik is in the southern suburbs of Beirut, and it's very interesting to see this interesting contrast of your memories of a place where you grew up versus what is or how it's being portrayed in the news. And it's quite sad, because growing up, it's you of course Hat Tahrik. So let's talk now early times. It was a village suburbs, so it wasn't very heavily urbanized. But then through the displacement of the southern population of Lebanon by the violence from Israel, many southerners moved to the area. It became very heavily urbanized, very dense. So the area carries a lot of weight of stories of many people. So you feel it, but it's also rich because of this diversity as well. And it's just for me it's the word shabi. It's like this is the word to describe it, which translated could be urban, but it's not, because shabi, it just means it's I don't know, it feels filled with people. That's how I read it, and I just remember sitting on the balconies when we would have power outages. And the electricity would go, and you don't have anything else to do. You sit on the balcony, and then you just look on the street, and you are entertained for hours. You watch people going and walking, and your aunts. The whole family grew up the whole family was living on the same street. So my aunt's in the same building, the other aunt across, my uncle two houses away. So the neighborhood was and is still more than just a district, and you don't move. It's it's the concept of moving. You don't do it. So that's a bit of the life of how I grew up. And unfortunately now people, maybe just to sum up, people know it as something, as a red zone. As a target. and this is a bit kind of a reality of a life of people who come from there and who live there, just doom scrolling on Instagram and then seeing a map, and then you see the maps actually there. I saw them earlier, and yeah, you're in the red zone, and you constantly have to negotiate a situation where you say, okay, goodbye to certain things, and you start to say goodbye to this item, goodbye to this house, and goodbye to this, but yeah, so yeah.
Thank you, Bilal. Maybe I would like to continue with Rames. We asked him to participate in today's event, and then I asked everybody to bring an object. So your object, I think, is this, right?
Yeah, this one. Yeah. It's very well.
What is it?
What should I say? This is my great grandfather, and that's from father's side, and that's from the mother, from mother's side of my grandfather. So that's an extended family, and I would like to go back very much. Thank you first of all for this invitation. I'm really pleased being here, and I would like to go back very much in history. I'm the oldest one here, so therefore I can go back to 150 years. If you would give me this picture here, these are the names of sorry, it's not gendered, it's only men. So this here is my son, Ra. Yeah. So we have the names of the family, and we're going to start here with the last one, but it's going to be very fast. But it shows something which is repetitive in Lebanon. Like you have always these kind of sectarian fights. You have the impact from powers you have the impact from powers coming from outside, from colonial powers, from the Turks or whoever, and but at the same time you have the living together. So Lebanon is not only about infights; it's also very much about how they manage to live together. And in that case, well, my name is Rames Najjar. I'm from Bet Mary, and well, I'm gonna say that I'm Druze. Normally, I would not say that in an audience because it's not interesting. But in that case, it might be interesting because Bet Mary is a very Christian city, small town. It's the most beautiful city in Lebanon. No, it's in the mountain. It's in the mountain. So therefore, it's not competing with Sur. No, it's not competing with Sur. No. So
we can make another event debating about which city is the most.
So first there is the last name is Sharafuddin al-Najjar, and this must have been 250 years ago. At that time, there was Bashir II, who was kind of aligned with the Egyptian king at that time, and fighting the Turks, and so you see already then everything has always to do with outside forces, and where the Lebanese used to take the outside forces in order to pursue their own interest. And here there is one letter written from him where he is writing like to his son that you're gonna get this house when I die. So it's kind of and the house is described, and I tried to figure out where this house might be in Bet Mary, but I could not find it. But there is an area where you have it's a very huge area. It's full of wood, and there you have a few old houses. They are not inhabited. I think it must have been there because this area is for the Druze community. They don't live there anymore, but I think it must have been there. So I was kind of trying to trace back this time. So then in between there are many names. I have nothing about them, but as in our tradition, you give always the name from the father, and then so you are the son of and son of son of son of son of. My name is Rames Nabil Najjar, and so on. So that's how it is in Lebanon. So in between, then that must have been 250 years ago. So we're talking about Napoleon is going to Egypt, yeah. So in between, you will find one name which is. You find here Sharafuddin Hassan, and then you find Saifuddin. And Saifuddin, that is must have been then 1830. There was also a kind of civil war in Lebanon. There were the Christians and the Druze that were fighting. And Saif ad-Din is actually a name which you could consider, which means which means in English, it is the sword of the religion. So it's something, maybe it was connected to that, and it's well documented that Beit Mari was very affected in that war, in that civil war. It's documented by the British. The Druze were with the British, and the Christians were with the French. And if you read this story, the histories, you still find the same names which are still today having impact in Lebanese politics. So you find the old families, you find the names that sometimes they vanish, sometimes no, but you will find the Yazbek, the Jublati, all these names, they are still present, especially in this area, Mount Lebanon, because Lebanon is very much defined by the mountains as a political center, because they were always much more independent than the other areas. Like the coastline was not so much independent, and the mountains were more, sure. So they were more independent. So there are many families who came from this area. Sorry for the. Okay, whatever. That is. If we are Lebanese, we have. I'm sure that we have many different opinions, but every opinion is true. Okay. So this is Saif ad-Din. Who knows what he was doing? I'm washing my hands in. So then you have his son, and then I mean, like, the interesting thing is, if you look at these names, you will find how politics have impact to daily life of people. So then I will have my great grandfather, which was Yusuf Najjar. And it must have been to the time of the Majaa. There was a big famine in Lebanon at that time, and that was a real catastrophe for Lebanon. There were many huge percentage of the people died then where this famine was. It was a political famine. Actually, the Turks, they cut off the food. At that time, Lebanon had no or little agriculture, because they were having a silk. There was silk production, so they could not. True, but I didn't get to me. So he left. So he left to. He just like boarded on a ship to Marseille, and he went to Australia. At that time, New England. It was called New England. I think he didn't know where he was traveling. So he went to New England at that time, maybe 1915. We are getting close to now. And 1915, he went to Australia, and he was must have been a very good businessman, because he came back very rich. And my grandfather, he was granted a university, and he built a big house there. So also this is something which is very Lebanese, is the exile and to come back again, and just like to make your fortune outside, but you're still connected to your country and you still see your roots there. So this is also something which is very important, and of course it's changed the whole family life of everybody for generations, because we are not business, we are nothing, but still this guy, he changed the family course. And I will hurry up. Then my grandfather, he was he got sick. He was sent to Switzerland and at that time, 1920, we are now, and he used to go to Berlin in the Roaring '20s. So he used to speak German. So he was already kind of connected to these countries. My dad went then to Germany to study, where he met my mom. And then I came to Lebanon. So 5 minutes, start now. No.
Like an extra event just for honesty.
No, but just like let me. I cannot stop it. They get angry, you know. I cannot stop it. It's not possible. So so I grew up in Beit Mari. Maybe many of you have not experienced that. The country without war. At that time, I was a kid, not so old, but still, it was a country which maybe it's not objective, but for us it was paradise. You know, you could go to the sea, you could go to the mountains, you could do everything. We had a wonderful school. and we lived also in this very Christian town. And we used to also celebrate with the Christians. We had my grandfather was singing in the chorus of the church in Bet Mary, and this is something which is very important to me. Is this kind of what we have is the notion that we can accept the other and have the possibility to interact. Like to see the positive in the other. I think that is something that needs to be taught at school for everybody, and this is something that we can get for nothing. And so that is actually then we when the war started, we fled to Germany, and it was actually a shock to come to Germany. From my side, it was like leaving paradise at that time. Even though I experienced the war at that time, but it was more or less for me in Bet Mary, it was not really hit by the war at the beginning. At least it was more adventure. You had this kind of this was fascist actually, but still for us it was guys who had long hair and had hippie. They had an M16, and on this M16 there was a Maria picture on that. So it was they were also kind of hippies who were going to fight, and that was the time. Actually, for me, it did not look brutal, but that must have been a very brutal time, because at that time it was of Tel Zatar, where Tel Zatar was occupied and fought with, and then I was injured by playing in my eye, and I had to go to Beirut hospital, and there I experienced what it means, the war, like when you had people who would come to the hospital and others are dying there and so on. So that was actually also the first time where I really experienced war, and that's actually the story of and maybe to get to. Yeah, maybe we can go to the next step, so I can tell you that for me to learn about Lebanon was very important, to be outside of Lebanon. So that's something which is very important. Yeah, thank you. Sorry for.
You will speak more, but we will have another round. But thank you very much, Ramez. It's so beautiful to have this diversity. Also, I was personally very surprised how much there's like intermarriage also between the different religious groups and everything. So that's really beautiful. Or like even I think Zahra, you said that or your family, they have all the religions, like all religions are present in your family.
I think it was Ramez.
You? I think. Okay, somebody said that. I don't remember who.
Dima.
Dima? Okay.
No, not Dima.
No, the other speaker who didn't come.
Cedra.
Yeah, anyway.
But almost all families have different almost all families have a different fraction. So the Alemi family my family, we are on the coast, so they are Muslims, Shia. But if you go to Alay, they are Druze, في علامة Druze, في علامة مسيحية كمان. There are Christian Alemi, so there are different fractions. And if you do a bit of tracing of the history, when I did the research of when our family first settled in the area, or when did they reside there, and it said that there's a story of a prince of a person who fell in love with a Shia princess, and so he was Dirze, and he converted to Shia because of his love to her, and so he started the branch of the Shia family in the Sahel al-Mitten. So yeah, there are many different such stories, but that's why for every family there's a bit of diversity, and yeah.
I think I misunderstood what you said. I did actually say that. I thought you meant that, for example, in my family, we have like people marrying from different sects, which is, I mean, I wish we had more of that, because I love, diversity. But indeed, like Badawi, you can find Sunnah, Shia, Druze, and Christians. So I just understood something.
But this is quite new. I mean, like in old times, it was more difficult to have inter-religious marriage. I know it from my dad. He married my mom, and she's Christian, and this was a problem at these times. So that's something new. But all my nephew, they don't care. They would just carry those who they love. Yeah. So that's it's something. It's a new development. Yeah, which is good. Yeah, no, but.
My mother, I mean, I just add, my mother is Christian and my father is Muslim, and they did. I mean, they got married, and yeah, I mean, officially you cannot have a religion of two different religions marry, so one has to do a conversion, and so my mom converted, but conversion is very simple, and you have to say a phrase, and you know. And every time they are arguing or like bickering back and forth, because my mom still practices Christianity, she goes to church, which is 500 meters away from our home, and so she always says, "What? These few sentences that I said, they mean nothing." So my father's like, "You are Muslim, don't complain about our religion, And she's like, "What?" So there is this, but yeah, there was it is a big thing for in different times, but in my family, I mean, she was accepted and welcomed, and yeah.
Bilal, would you like to continue right away? So our second round will focus more on the topic of like how do you in the diaspora, or like here, for example, in Austria, how do you connect to Lebanon? What do you do, for example, if you feel homesick or if you want to connect more to your culture or something like that?
And this was something that when we first talked about it, it took me a while to understand the process of what I was doing, and it intensified more and more over the years. I started to collect my own little archive of things from home, and so now, of course, with the threat of more, of erasure, you are also more aware of it. And on my last trip to Lebanon in December, I said to my parents, "Can I have every family photo? And I would like to take them," because this idea of once they are disappeared, and me not being able to look back and say, "Oh, I looked like this when I was little," or so so I wanted to take it with me. And my mother said, "What? You all left and you want to take this away from me too?" And so, started scanning them and, scan everything I can. I take pictures, I take whatever I can without affecting them. I took a piece of yasmin plant from my balcony, and I cut it and I smuggled it here. And it grew. It's a baby yasmin plant that I have from my garden in my home here. So I just try to connect to these small rituals and also the small items that are very important. Because now, I mean, my background is also architecture. So for me, we are always confronted with this, after every demolition, the first thing that happens is now we reconstruct. But it is about, for me, what do we reconstruct? How architecture can be reconstructed, and architecture is very important. But how do you archive and treasure sounds, tastes, smells? How do you incorporate them into new architectures? So things never return to the way they were, even if you build one-to-one. So for me, that was the way I tried to connect, by just retaining the immaterial and try to, my aunt that I spoke about earlier, I have recordings of her telling my future. So, it's for me, it's it captures a lot more than it's not just the future that is important, but the echo of that room was very specific, because she didn't have a lot of furniture. They had actually, we would always sit in the same way we are sitting now. Plastic chairs, there would be this one table, and the coffee would be on it, and the room is empty. And so it had a very unique echo. And so all of this is captured in this voice note that I would record. And so this is my way of kind of making sure I have a piece of home with me. Yeah.
How big is the jasmine tree? How big is the jasmine tree now?
Oh no, it's not. Yeah, it's like small. It's not growing. The environment is not doing it well, unfortunately. But every year it blossoms and gives me 1 or 2 yasmin flowers, and that's it. So when they blossom, I have to cherish it. It smells incredibly beautiful. I have a very small flat, so when it blossoms, I'm up in the morning and I'm very excited. But unfortunately, I do everything I can, but it's not growing. Yeah. But yeah, it's. I said to my father one day I will bring it back, because the one they had on the balcony died when they had to flee from the war, so they couldn't water the plants and so But I have the daughter, so the daughter will come back home. Yeah.
I feel like sometimes we forget that we're also, even as humans, we have roots and we shouldn't be uprooted. So also Zahra was talking a lot about, we talked a lot about like diaspora, or how every family has somebody that has to go abroad just to keep the family alive and everything. So your your specialties like culinarics and food and everything. Can you tell us something about how you connect with Lebanon through food and Levantine cuisine?
So I moved here around 10.5 years ago, and I think we all share a lot of things in common, like moving with an extra suitcase filled with, za'atar, kishik, samma, but also our own avocado and chirumuya, ashta. So we grow pretty much everything. We produce our own olive oil, but there's a limit as to how much you can bring here with you. So it's very challenging. And I mean, you could find a lot of products here, but it was very disappointing for me how commercialized they were, and I always thought like, okay, why don't we have the real thing? And this eventually inspired me to start Urjuwan, actually, for Lebanese products, but also for eventually hosting, because for us it's not just about the food, the dish, or the meal. It's also like a very social activity. We all get together. We don't have this culture of X number of courses. Everything is just spread on the table, and we're all sharing together. So it's how I really connect with home. And I've always had a love-hate relationship with Lebanon. I think I could speak for everyone, but I'm not sure. And in the past few years, since Urjuwan, actually, I felt a lot more connected to my roots. And I also realized that, if you have this scale of love and hate, love is definitely, much stronger. For me, this is the best way to connect. And it also made me realize the amount of time and effort our mothers put into making those meals. Because, of course, growing up, I did not do any of that. She was, my mom was preparing everything for me. And then when I moved abroad, I realized, okay, I have to depend on myself now. So I think we really underestimate that. And I'm glad I got to appreciate, not that I didn't appreciate earlier, of course, but to appreciate a lot more what my mom has been doing for us and continues to do. And I think it's also beautiful, it's really a lot more than just the food. And then there's also what Bilal was saying about my last visit was last June, and it was the first in 2 years. And again, coming from the south, you're always like the direct target, sort to say. And I started bringing some of the family pictures too. And to connect, with Germany was always present at home. because whenever my grandma would come visit us in summer from Germany, where she eventually moved, she would always bring us these nice plates, which now, like, you know, they're vintage. You find them on the flea markets. And I was always fascinated by them. And I always told my mom, if there's anything I could inherit one day, I want those plates. And I never thought I'd move to Austria, and then you could find very similar ones almost everywhere. But they're still special. And each time my mom visits, she's smuggling a couple of these plates in her hand luggage, and I'm bringing some more. So I think by now the collection is almost complete. It all depends on whether our home still stands or not. Then, yeah, I could see if there's anything left. But it's really painful. It's a very unpleasant feeling to go home and not know if this is going to be the last time, or if you will be able to go back. And even if you can rebuild the stone, you cannot rebuild the memories. You cannot bring the people back to life. So, yeah, I really hope we can see some better days at some point.
Yes, we all hope that. And of course, these memories are unique and not you cannot replace them. Thank you, Zahra. Ramiz, you were talking about the culture, Arabic culture, also like how people interact. Language is very important for you when you think about Lebanon. Do you want to tell us something about that?
Yes, I think I was, very long time now. I'm in Austria, and I went back to Lebanon for a few months, staying there. I was teaching there, and I found out like the thing that connects us is our language, but what you're saying in your language. So we say if you would just translate it into German, it would sound strange. You say, for instance, not thank you. You would say Islamu dayetak. So if it's translated to German, let your hands be blessed. I mean, like, this is a language which also, even though we're talking and saying that every day on a daily basis, it still affects somebody. It still affects us because this kind of I mean, like this, the language is very important. Especially the content of the phrases that we say. I think it makes a change. For me, it made a change. As I was very long in Austria, then I went back, and now back again. But so that was kind of I got the feeling what it means, because I was there as a kid. You don't realize these things. You know, as grown up, you know, you can more distinguish these things. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. The next question.
I mean, maybe you can say something about the culture also. It's not just the language, no? It's also how people deal with each other, maybe. Or
yeah, with the language they interact, and I think like that's we know it very well. But if you are disconnected for a while, then you know what you're missing actually. So this is something which is you get to know Lebanon better if you leave Lebanon, because you learn what it is. And I think that Lebanon is a extremely special country. Okay, every country is very special, but the connection of people to Lebanon is very special, because it's not very thankful to be Lebanese. You know, you always have something which is hurting, which we're afraid of. It's nothing thankful, but nevertheless, people are so much connected to this country, even though they are for generations back or not living there. So there must be something which is not we don't know yet. Maybe we can figure out, but I think that's yeah.
Yes, like you told me about how Lebanese people, even for generations, they still have such a strong connection to Lebanon, right?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
How do you feel this connection? For like, you go to Lebanon, or you used to go regularly?
When I left Lebanon, I was a kid. I was small. I was 10 years old, and it was a shock to come to Germany. It was it was cold. People were not. School was really lousy. I mean, like, school was off at 12 o'clock, and they only spoke German. No foreign language, and Lebanon has a kind of. It gives you also freedom. I mean, like, the freedom of thoughts in Lebanon is incredible. You can be and think whatever you want. Nobody would bother you. Maybe they bother you, but it's not forbidden. So And I think like this was is a very important experience, just like to yeah, the difference, you know, like I mean, when you grew up in Bet Mary, we were used to play in the ala from in the ruins of Roman ruins, you know, that also that connects you to other times, and we used to yeah, for instance, and food also is very important. Music is very important, of course. Lebanese food is the best in the world. Those who disagree, please leave. And it's something that's also always you get connected to your country, and yeah.
Do you have maybe any memories or like any stories that you would like to tell from your trips? You used to go to Lebanon a lot. Where did you go? What did you do there?
Well, we were in Bet Mary first. Yeah, that was east Lebanon at that time. But as my family, they are Druze, they were living also partly in West Beirut. So I was very early traveling many places, also during the civil war, where people did not know the other neighborhood. They didn't know where, nobody would go to Baalbek. We went to Baalbek at that time. It was, oh, how can you go? How dare you to go there if you were in Bet Mary? If you were in Beirut, they say, oh, well, no problem. So there was this kind of, the society was really split at that time in many small communities.
Before we close tonight, I would like to leave you with one final thought. Please continue to educate yourselves and do your own research. Read the news also in different languages. Seek out different perspectives and listen to the stories of the people directly affected. And also, most importantly, believe them and take their word for true value. And when people speak about their pain and their displacement and their loss, I think it's already so hard to talk about this. So when you get doubts from somebody, this must be very painful. Many of us here have the privilege of living in safety and of not having to constantly prove our humanity and our suffering or our right to exist, and also the privilege to live in our own country without having to go abroad. And that privilege also comes with a responsibility. International law, human rights and humanitarian principles cannot only matter when they are politically convenient. So European countries, as Rames said, including Austria, and especially Austria maybe, often present themselves as defenders of these values of human rights, and yet many governments continue to support or enable policies that openly violate these rights. Political leaders are only able to continue acting with impunity when there is silence and indifference or selective outrage, which is helping also countries like Israel, for example, continuing their crimes. There are also journalists, including in many German-speaking countries, who continue to report truthfully, so we should also read their work and share it. And thank you all again for being here tonight, for listening and for creating this space together with us, and especially for donating to support the families of the 3 Red Cross paramedics. 2 of them were martyred and 1 of them is injured. The donation box is in the back, and also I think there's some food left, so please serve yourself. And if you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to approach us afterwards. And there's also the donation box for the Ameling House, which is at the door.